Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended Podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge. And I'm super excited to be here with you today. I think it's our first time on the show. We're going to be talking about Manifest. It's coming up in 2 weeks. Pam Simon is here, and we're going to be talking about all sorts of things from AI to what you don't want to miss at Manifest. And then we're also going to be talking about return to work and how unflexible that might be for a few people, including her. But before we do that, I do have to give a shout out to our show sponsor, the Secret Society of Supply Chain. If you haven't headed over there, it's our new membership community. It's free for everybody to join. So head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com to check it out. I want to give a shout out to our newest members, Lippy Cancel. We've got OC Tagger, Chris Hamley, and we've got Shar Edmondson as well. Welcome to the community. We can't wait to have you in there. All right. Let's talk about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got 2 brand new episodes. The first one is episode 517 with Shipio. Now we're talking about useful AI. So we're hearing AI all over the place, and we're hearing different versions of AI. We're hearing about how you can use it differently, but we're also hearing new words around AI. And this particular episode talks about how AI is useful. So useful AI. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to Shipio? But they're talking about how visibility is going to project success and useful AI is going to get you there. So episode 517, wherever you listen and watch the show, that's over on Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube as well. And then we've got episode 518. Now, this is with Gray Orange, and we're talking about from automation to intelligence, how AI is transforming the modern warehouse. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think you will too. There's a lot of great insights. They talk about some of the things that are possible within warehousing today, and then what that future of a modern warehouse looks like. So highly recommend you go and check that out wherever you listen and watch the show. So Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Then tomorrow, Performance Paradox, another episode with Chris Hamley, and they're talking about a roadmap for supply chain operations to suck less, but they're also talking about why do people hate change. Now, they work with a lot of companies, and they see a lot when it comes to change management, and when it comes to disruption, when it comes to digital transformation. And this is going to be the show for you when it comes to change management and talking about what that looks like. So highly recommend you go and click the attend button. The link's going to be in the comments, and even if you can't attend live, we'll send you the link after the recording. And then I go live Thursday, February 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. I think that's next Thursday, optimizing chassis strategy with DCLI. And we're going to be talking to Idre as well. We've got Jonathan from Rapid Link Repairs, which is their sister company. And this is really going to be talking about how you can optimize this strategy and what that looks like. We're going to give you practical steps to boost that efficiency. So go ahead and click the attend button, even if you can't attend live, because we will send you the link after the recording. Now, of course, we've got in-person conferences coming up. We've got Manifest coming up February 9th through 11th, and we're going to be talking more about that today on the show as to why you should be there. And then, of course, we've got TPM March 1st through 4th at Long Beach Convention Center, and there's going to be a lot of really, really great content there as well. And so we want to make sure that you're going to be on site for that too. And then we've got Home Delivery World now, May 20th through the 21st in Nashville. I'm going to be doing a couple of things there. I'm going to be doing a keynote. I think it's the first morning. And then I'm also going to be recording podcasts on site as well. So super excited to be there. And then we've got Break Bulk and Project Cargo. This is happening April 20th through 22nd in New Orleans with the Journal of Commerce. I'm going to be there doing Break Bulk TV, and I can't wait to see everybody there. All right. I think that's about it. And it's time now to bring up Pam. Pam, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How you doing? I mean, it's a little cold for Florida, but we're getting through.
I mean, we're surviving. I had multiple layers on this morning, but that's just me. It sounds like you're on the road for the next few months. So
Yes. The next few months are going to be quite fun, actually. But yeah, we're going to be here, there, and everywhere. Some of the things that aren't on there, we're going to be in Toronto for a couple of weeks, and we're just doing all sorts of stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I do want to say to everybody out there who's really battling all the storms that are happening out there in the world right now, stay safe, stay warm, because we know it's not easy for everybody at the moment. So just wanted to say that. Now that I've said that, though, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell yourself tell everybody who you are and what you do and a little bit about your company.
Of course. So I'm Pam Simon. I'm the conference chair and EVP of programming for Manifest, which is the global end-to-end supply chain event taking place February 9 to 11 at the Venetian in Las Vegas. It is the full end-to-end ecosystem, and we're expecting over 7,000 executives from over 60 countries across 6 continents.
Wow.
And over 400 solution providers that will be showcasing their advancements in technology.
Yeah, it just gets bigger and bigger every single year. Now, one of the things I forgot to mention at the top of the show, if you're watching, put in the comments where you're watching from, because we want to know where you're watching from. Plus, if you like the conversation, we love a good fire emoji here at Thoughts and Coffee. So make sure you put those in the comments as well. I know Pam likes a good fire emoji too. So we want to know who's here. We want to hear your thoughts. If you've got any questions, make sure to put those in the comments too. All right, let's get to our poll of the week. So we ask a question every single Wednesday morning across the Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn family. And I think we had just under 30 votes. What's your Manifest Vegas approach survival strategy? I think it's so fitting, though. 36% said meetings and happy hours. 29% said network hard, leave with a client. Woo! 21% said innovation stage all the way. And 14% said explore every expo innovation. What do you think about the poll results on this one? It's a bit of a mixed bag about how everybody sort of approaches the event. And I'm sure you hear all sorts of different stories as to how people are going to navigate. But what do you think about this?
I mean, I, as you're right, I had this conversation yesterday. I was like, it's kind of a choose your own adventure, right?
Yes.
So you go in with a plan. Some people are dedicated and they're going to content sessions and getting educated left and right. Others are having meetings and connecting with new companies or getting together with their whole ecosystem that it's hard to get everyone in person. So I think the poll lines up pretty accurately.
Well, and there is quite a bit to do, and there's a lot happening in conjunction. And we're going to talk about some of those sessions that I'm going to be involved in. We're going to be talking about some of the sessions that people really want to make sure that they check out while they're at Manifest. And then, of course, actually, one of the things that I can't believe we didn't see here was the wrap party. I mean, that's always the talked about part of the event, and nobody said that they were going for that. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that might not want to say that publicly.
I was going to say, I feel like the party is just like a nice, kind of sprinkles on top, if you will.
So
there's a lot more business to get done during the day.
That is true. That is true. I want to give a shout out over to Mazen over on our Let's Talk Supply Chain Instagram, all the way from Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, now's the part of the show that I usually ask you for a bit of a market update. Now, you are talking to all sorts of people right now because you are planning panel sessions at the event. You're making sure everybody is good to go as far as like speakers are concerned. You're also talking to a lot of VCs and investors. And I did a show last week where we talked a little bit about how there's a boom of investment into AI. But I can't imagine that AI is the only thing that they're thinking about right now. So what's the market update from an investor or a VC standpoint? What are they thinking about? What are they going to Manifest to do? What are they looking for? What does that look like?
So a few different ways to answer that. And I think the investors coming to Manifest right now, there's over 300 different funds in attendance, and that's from super early stage through private equity, investment bank, family office, and pension. So I think people go for a lot of different reasons. There's definitely, some VCs that are fundraising for their next fund. So there's definitely folks that have walked away with a GP or an LP for their fund. There's other investors that are there looking for new companies. So they'll park themselves at the innovation stage and really spend a lot of time in the hall talking with all of the founders that have exhibition space. And a lot of it is also bringing their ecosystem together and being helpful, right? As an investor, you want to be able to help your companies succeed. It helps you, it helps them. So it's continuing to build those relationships with potential customers for your portfolio companies, as well as investors that could potentially fund their next round of funding.
Mm-hmm.
AI is obviously a big topic of conversation. You can't ignore it. And I know we'll dive further into it. But one of our speakers from Vention, actually, they just announced they raised over $100 million this morning.
Wow.
As it relates to physical AI. So bringing new capabilities to its software to expand the portfolio for pre-engineered applications and strengthen their global footprint. So looking at a number of different ways for AI, how it can be utilized. Investors are also, I'd say there's a lot of announcements to come. There's over 60 companies that will be announcing special news at the show. So I'm not going to blow up the spot. But definitely a lot more investments and more merging, more M&A that's coming. We do have an M&A session, so if you want to dive further into that, definitely add that to your agenda. And also looking at connectivity and interconnectivity of how different platforms can connect and really be able to provide, chief supply chain officers with true visibility across all of their different networks and platforms, and how that will relate on a global scale.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you said was physical AI. I'm not entirely sure what that means, so I'm going to go look it up. But when I was talking at the top of the show around the Shipio episode, they called it useful AI. You said physical AI. So now we're like taking AI and we're putting words in front of it to really describe the different functionalities of how we're thinking and using AI. And I think it's fascinating.
Well, I mean, AI is not the silver bullet that's just going to fix everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? It needs to be applied in a specific way. And I think those really drill down and have a focus are more likely to succeed long term.
Yeah, it's so true. And you never know who you're going to see at Manifest. I have to say, 2 years ago, there was a Real Housewife of Beverly Hills on the floor who I had the opportunity to meet and have on the show and do a couple of things with, which was really, really, really cool. But you never know who you're going to meet on the floor. That one, when I found out, I was like, wow. Because she has a reverse logistics company, which most people don't know. And she's got a clothing line and all that kind of stuff. So that was Sutton Strack. And I was honored to get, her award last year, which was super cool. So like I said, you never know who you're going to meet. And I have an announcement that's going to be coming out, but it wasn't in time for Manifest. It's coming out at the end of February. So you've got all those announcements, and I was hoping to be one of them, but we're not going to be ready till the end of February. So
fine, you're going to keep me on my edge of my seat.
All right, let's get into our first article, because that one is really about AI and what we're talking about today. Now, I chose this article because it talks about the AI as a bubble. And this is a very interesting topic because some people are saying that we're in the bubble and they're waiting for it to burst. And others are like, no, it's here to stay. And this is something that we have to learn to live with. And so this particular article goes into the history of technology. They actually talk about electricity. And one of the interesting things I thought around that story, specifically around electricity, was that it took 5 decades for us as human beings to know how to fully exploit electricity and how to use it. And so I just want to let that sit for a minute, because 5 decades is a very long time. We turn a switch and we have lights, and we are very, very, grateful for the fact that electricity is here to stay. But it took 5 decades for us to get to a point where we actually really understood how to use it and what it looked like and how it could help us in the long term. And that really puts into perspective when we think about AI and how fast things are moving. That puts it into perspective of how long it could potentially take for a technology like this to fully realize its full potential. Pam, I've got a few other things, but I want to bring you into this conversation. What did you think about this particular article? I mean, I thought it was fascinating, but what about you?
I thought it was super interesting. And when we talk about an AI, like when it comes to the bubble narrative, I think every transformation, every transformative technology goes through a hype cycle, right? The bubble isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that the market is maturing.
Right.
So what matters isn't who's doing it first, but more operationally and responsibility and at scale. So you're right. All of these new technologies take a lot of time and it doesn't happen overnight. If you think about IoT, initially that wasn't like it took a long time for people to like figure that out. And it's still being processed, but you're seeing companies like Tive and Nexiate now integrating in a variety of different industries that wasn't initially how they started.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And a couple other things that they talk about in this article, and a couple of thoughts and coffees ago, I talked about the importance of storytelling. And I talked about how there's a lot of job openings for storytelling. And this particular article also talks about storytelling. They said that the bubble, one of the things that the bubble is based on is what the stories that influence decisions and how that emerges. And so one of the examples that they used is that it actually creates economic outcomes. And so they gave an example of Tesla being worth 1.3 trillion versus Toyota, which is 273 billion. Toyota sold more cars than Tesla last year. But because of the stories that they're telling around the future of EV and what that looks like, that actually makes them worth more money, which I thought was absolutely fascinating too. They also said NVIDIA is valued at almost as much as the entire Canadian economy.
I saw that.
Which is mind blowing. So they're telling a good story. So stories really matter, everybody. No, but basically this article is around the framework. So the framework behind a bubble. So if you read this and you read the history on some of the other technologies and the inventions that have come out, there's an actual 4-point framework as to what you need to take a look at to see if it's got longevity or whether it's going to be a bubble that bursts. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up, because I thought that was fascinating. But the other part of it was that they talked about how each of these inventions and technology were raw and imperfect to start. Right? Yeah. Like you said, the silver bullet. And actually, I have somebody over on my personal LinkedIn. RV says AI is not a silver bullet. Spot on, Pam. And I bring this up because AI is not a silver bullet. It's still raw and imperfect. And we still don't know every place that it's going to go. Pam.
Well, I'm also thinking about it. Like AI didn't overpromise anything. People did, right? Like when companies expect AI to magically fix something that's broken, like a broken process or fix bad data, they're setting themselves up for disappointment because AI will just amplify what's already there, whether it's bad.
What's already there and what's already broken, people. It's going to amplify that. I want to give a special shout out to Christine Hahn over on my personal LinkedIn. She says it's her first time going to Manifest. And so she's excited for us to talk about Manifest and how she can prep going in there. So let's do exactly that. Let's get to our discussion about Manifest. Now, what would you suggest? So like to Christine, for somebody who's never been to Manifest before, and I've spoken to quite a few people who haven't been before that are going this year, what would you say to them? Because I have a few people on my team that are new to Manifest as well. And I've been like, it can be extremely overwhelming, but there's a way through that in the fact that you prioritize and manage and make sure that you're going in knowing exactly what your days can look like.
Yes. So I think 100%, I think the preparation, like the pre-manifest, what you do before you get there is really important. To just show up, surprise, I made it to Manifest. You're like, cool. But it will be really overwhelming and you're not necessarily going to get the most out of the experience because it is the only show that's end to end. We do cover a lot of different areas and technologies and topics. So first and foremost, if you have not already done so, please download our Manifest Vegas private networking app. You're able to connect with people, schedule meetings, and really go through and figure out like who you want to get in front of. What I always tell people, in the months leading up to it, really think about what's your why? Like, what are your 3 whys of why you are going? So is it getting in front of customers? Is it meeting up with, current clients or new clients? Is it investors? Is it other technology platforms? Do you have specific questions? So really asking yourself, what you want to get out of it and what you're looking for. And then looking at the agenda. So first, look at the agenda. We have over 100 conference sessions led by internationally recognized experts. And I mean, it's whatever you're most into, right? So if you want to find out about warehousing or cyber or data or robotics, but look at the agenda and really block off the sessions that you want to make sure you don't miss. I say this on every podcast I'm on. Go to those sessions a little bit early and talk to the people in the room because they're all there for the same reason that you're there. So it's good networking there as well as right after the conversation. Don't be shy. Go ask speakers questions, challenge them. They're expecting it, and that's why we're all getting together, right? So it's to collectively solve the challenges that come up in our supply chain and how we can collectively be able to fix them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also just to make sure that you sort of build out your agenda, but don't build it out too much. Leave a little bit of flexibility because you also want to leave some of it to fate.
No, of course. That's what I'm saying. Pick out your cherry pick the sessions that you can't miss. Schedule meetings. If you can, the more meetings you can schedule before you get there, the less overwhelming you will feel once you arrive. And it's super easy. We have a meeting zone in an area, and it makes it very simple. Everything that we do is designed for you to start the conversation and for you to continue it after Manifest.
Yeah. So a couple of things to point out about what we're going to be doing there, which I'm super excited about. So we've partnered with Supply Chain Brain on the Masters of Innovation Awards, and we've just announced the winners. So it's PepsiCo, it's Fabletics, and Alita Beauty. And they're all going to be presenting at 12:30 on Tuesday their innovation. So they're going to talk about the challenge that they had, the solution that they decided to go with, and what was the ROI and benefit from that. So you're going to be able to learn from industry peers. And on Wednesday morning, we're actually going to be handing them the award on the main stage, which is super cool. This is the first time it's ever happened at Manifest. So I want to say a big thank you to the team at Manifest for letting us do that. And then I'm actually going to be on stage. So those are 2 times that I'm going to be on stage. And then I'm going to be on stage for a panel Tuesday afternoon, which is going to be a great one. I just had my session with them, and we're talking all about last mile delivery, what that means to you, what that means to your organization, your supply chains. And they're thinking about it very differently. So I'm super excited for that conversation. And then I'm also going to be on stage with Con Global or Aviro 360 on Monday afternoon for their session, because Monday... Tell us a little bit about Monday, because Monday is almost like these general sessions that are specific to industry topics.
Well, so we call them symposiums.
Got it.
And if anyone's confused, the floor is not open on Monday.
No, it's not.
It's not.
No.
I'm just going to say it again. Not open on Monday. When you come to me on Monday and say, "Oh my God, why are the doors closed?" I can be like, "You were on the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast and you heard from me." It's not the scale that we're building is over 500,000 square feet. Robots, drones, trucks. It takes up a lot of time and space to create everything that we do. So the first day of the show, our kickoff day, is more broken into specific symposiums. We have maritime and sustainability. We added cold chain last year, and it's something that we're leaning further into for this year. So there'll be an extended cold chain pavilion and stage in the expo hall. So there's actually going to be 3 full days of cold chain related content and case studies, which is really exciting. And then a newer one that we've just added is around procurement and sourcing. this is due to feedback from the audience and always trying to think of different ways to keep our show broad and get the entire ecosystem involved, no matter what area you're really focused on. And obviously with nearshoring and reshoring and globalization, I think that, procurement and sourcing has gotten a lot more attention lately. And I think more of the discussion is really around bringing procurement into the organization holistically, as opposed to just considering it a cost.
Yeah, it needs that attention. And Christine, also Wednesday at lunch is the women's lunch. So we want to make sure that that is on your agenda, and make sure that you come and say hi to Pam and I. We would love to say hi to you and see you and get to know you. So let's do it. Women's lunch on Wednesday. All right, let's get to our last. And just so everybody knows, the QR code in the top right-hand corner, that's going to go directly to that registration page. And then we've also got a link in the comments so that you can get the discount that we posted on screen today. But I think that ends this week. So you guys need to go get your tickets, and I don't know what you're waiting for. So go and get them. Anyways, okay, let's get to our last article. So this one I chose because I feel like we're still waging a war between return to office and work from home, and what does that mean, and flexibility, and everybody wants everything all at once, and nobody quite knows what they want out of their workday. And I think it's super interesting. So this is talking about micro shifting. So a lot of people are doing work in shorter blocks, and then they're going and doing something else, and then they're returning to work. So it's almost like you go into work, but you have a dentist appointment. So you leave for the dentist appointment, and then you come back to work and you work the rest of your day, and then you go home. That's micro shifting, which I've been doing for years. I didn't actually quite realize it was called something. But what did you think of this particular article, Pam?
Well, I agree with you. I feel like it's been something that people have done for years. We just now have a name for it. Work isn't a one size fits all anymore, and that's not a flaw. It's an evolution. So productivity today looks very different depending on your career, the stage of your career, the role, your life context. So I think, I have opinions from both sides of things. I think when I had graduated college and I was going into an office every day, being in the office was very productive. You learn how to be in an office setting and deal with different personalities and manage deadlines and pressure. And, it's not the same, it's not the same as just showing up on a Zoom call.
Right.
But you have to actually be physically present, and you can't fully absorb the rhythm of an organization through a screen, especially if you're earlier in your career. So when you're younger in your career, it's super important to be able to have that experience and ask those questions, get that feedback. And I'm lucky that, when I had graduated, that was the way of the world. As a mom, later in my career, honestly, I think working from home is not a lifestyle perk. It's a performance advantage. Because for me, when you remove the friction of commuting and the rigid schedules, that time and mental energy goes straight back into execution and leadership. At least for me, flexibility doesn't reduce output; it sharpens it and increases it.
Love that.
But
I love that. Yeah, I like to hear both sides of the coin, because it's not a one size fits all for everybody. Everybody has different priorities. They have different things that are going on in their life. Some have children, some don't. But either way, there could be some aging parents that need some help, that you might need some flexibility. You know what I'm saying? And so I think holistically taking a look at what works and the flexibility that needs to happen for people to perform at their best, I think is still sort of that collaboration factor, and the fact that we have these conversations and really get, into what is realistic, what's not realistic, how can I perform at my best, and how can we support you to do that from an organization standpoint. But one thing that stood out for me from this particular article, and I highly recommend you go check it out, return to office is not the battle of where the work is done anymore. It's the battle of when the work gets done. Because if you go into an office and you think about it, you have to fit within that box, right? Yeah. You start at 8 a.m., you leave at 5 p.m.
I mean, yeah, I think the smartest companies aren't debating remote versus in person. They're trying to design for effectiveness.
Yes.
At least from my perspective.
I love that.
And supply chain leaders have been managing distributed work forever. So now the rest of the world is just catching up to that.
That's true. That's true. Well, Pam, that's it for time. We went a little bit over, but I'm so glad that we did, because you and I could do this for a very, very long time, talking about all sorts of topics. We do it, outside of the lives. But thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us about Manifest and what we can expect and all that kind of stuff. I can't wait to see everybody there. I can't wait to give you a squeeze. It's been way too long. It was like last year sometime, and I can't even remember when that was. But thank you so much to everybody who weighed in on the show today, who joined us for the show. I'll be back next Tuesday. Same bat time, same bat channel. I think I just aged myself.